Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephanie Larralde, Director of Graduate Recruitment and Outreach here at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. And today I have with me Samuel Aparicio, our Senior Graduate Recruiter. And today we're going to be talking about some of the common fears of starting graduate school. Yes, many people do have fears and questions and concerns about starting graduate school, and we'd like to help debunk some of those today with Sam. Would you like to introduce yourself and say a few
Yes,
words?
of course. Thank you, Stephanie. Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Aparicio. As Stephanie mentioned, I'm the senior graduate recruiter here for the Graduate College. So for those of you guys who have questions, or maybe you just need assistance through the application process, I'm here to kind of guide you through that, let you know kind of what the admission requirements are, deadlines, things of that nature. So feel free to reach out to me in case you guys have any questions. Excited to talk with you guys a little bit about, some of these fears and help to address those in terms of graduate school.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. So before we get started, we are taking your questions live. So feel free to type in any questions that you may have about graduate school in the comment section, and we'll be looking at those as we go through some of these common fears. And make sure if you do have a very specific question about your particular application or anything in particular to you, make sure that you do message us directly on those questions. We don't want any personal information on the comments section. So make sure that you just ask your general questions, and then you can reach out directly if you have something very specific. So to get us started, one of the most common fears or concerns that students have is they're afraid to leave their job in order to attend graduate school, or they're worried about working full time and going to graduate school at the same time, how that load works out. Sam, what would you say about that?
So I would say most of our grad classes for the traditional programs allow the flexibility for you to be able to attend in the evening, right? So if you're still going through, you're working full time and you want to go through your program, you don't have to necessarily come to classes during the day. Most of our students, they are full-time employees. Sometimes they're even parents, right? So at the end of the day, you don't have to leave your job. You can still work and do the grad program in the evening. So you're not required to stop working. Now, we do offer also the accelerated online programs. These are extremely flexible where you can do them 100% remotely. The classes are held asynchronously. So as long as you're submitting your assignments by the deadline, you can pretty much work at your own pace, and this is great for students who maybe can't make it to campus. Maybe also maybe you're not in the valley. Maybe you got your bachelor's and moved outside of the valley. You can still do our programs through our accelerated online format. And I mean, for those, it's amazing because, like I said, you don't have scheduled meeting times. You don't have to join class at a specific day. So, I mean, you can certainly do our programs and still not have to leave your job. Anything you wanted to add to that, Stephanie?
That's exactly right, Sam. And I think a lot of our students are in that same boat. They're full-time, parents, they're full-time, working full-time. And so, if they can do it, you can do it too. Graduate school, we're trying to help out students in any way that we can in order to help them be successful, by offering these flexible formats like accelerated online options, as well as courses in the evening hours. And I do actually see our first question come in. So we actually had one of these as one of our common fears on our list. But the question is, does UTRGV offer GRE prep courses? And to answer that quickly, Marie, there actually have been some preparation courses in the past offered through continuing education. So you can actually reach out to the Office of Continuing Education to see if they will be offering any sort of GRE prep courses coming up in the future. You can reach them at utrgv.edu/CE continuing education. Just Google search it in our UTRGV search engine, and you'll be able to see if they have GRE. And sometimes they offer GMAT prep courses as well, that you can go ahead and take. So just wanted to answer that quickly as we're going through our questions here. So
Really quickly, I wanted to add to that,
Mhm.
Stephanie. There's also some really helpful study materials at the library. If you're currently a student and you're looking to get your master's and you need to take the GRE or the GMAT, definitely go to the library, check out some of those free practice materials. that's super beneficial. You don't have to really spend any money. That's going to benefit you already.
Yeah, and even more so on ets.org, where you actually register for the GRE exam, there is also free preparation tools on there as well. You can also look and learn about the format of the GRE exam. I know that's probably one of the biggest things, is really just learning the format of how to take this exam, how the questions are formatted, like what questions come first, second, third. So that really is helpful. So if you go online to ets.org or the UTRGV library, there are resources there for you to, free resources, like Sam said. Or if you want to purchase a book at Barnes and Noble, they do have preparation books everywhere. If you search on Amazon, anywhere you search for preparation books, you can find some as well. But I do want to point out, as we're talking about the GRE, because I think this is a big thing for most prospective students, is that not all of our graduate programs require an entrance exam in order to get into them. So there's only a handful of programs here at the university that do require the GRE. So I invite anybody who is currently doing their research on graduate programs, research the program that you're interested in and see if they do require the GRE exam. So it's not standard for all of our graduate, master's, and doctoral programs. It's only certain programs that do require an entrance exam requirement. So at UTRGV, if you're searching for graduate programs here, you would go to utrgv.edu/grad programs, and you can pick your program from the list of programs that are on that page, and you can see the admission requirements for each of those particular programs as well. So I just wanted to make note of that as we are talking about the GRE exam.
Perfect. So Stephanie, I get this question a lot from our international students, and I think it's definitely worth noting. So if I'm an international student, does UTRGV welcome students from outside of the US? And what kind of services does UTRGV offer international students?
Absolutely. Yes, we do accept international students from actually across 72 different countries. We've had international students from, and some of our top countries of where we get international students in graduate school are from like Bangladesh, Ghana, Nigeria, Mexico. So those are some of the top countries that our international students are coming to study here at the university. And when you are applying into graduate school as an international student, if you are seeking an F1 visa to come study here on campus, the process is a little bit longer than your normal application process, but nothing to fear. We will help you along the entire way. As soon as you're admitted into the program, then our international office assists you with helping continue that process with getting your F1 visa. So my advice to international students is really to apply early, start that application process early, get everything in, because there's a couple additional steps that you need to do. Nothing too much, but you need to apply early just so that you can make sure everything gets in and that you can get a decision in a timely manner so that you can continue with the process of getting an F1 visa to come study here at the university.
Perfect.
Yeah, so another question that I do get, Sam, a lot also is graduate school really worth it? Should I go to graduate school? What is the worth?
In my opinion, I am always for higher education, right? But I mean, particularly if you're a student who maybe, number one, if you're not quite sure what you want to do yet, I would say graduate school allows you that time to continue to grow and to learn more about opportunities that you have in terms of, employment, and kind of learn more about yourself and what your strengths are, what your goals are, what your career goals are, right? So I think that's really important. I also think if like you're working and you want to move up in the organization that you're in, graduate school can definitely allow you to get there, right? That master's will allow you to not only negotiate a higher salary, but in terms of employment opportunities, if you want to kind of broaden your horizons, or maybe you want to branch out, maybe you want to switch careers, and it's definitely worth it to do that. And so a lot of people don't realize that you don't necessarily have to get a master's in the same subject that you got your bachelor's in, right? Maybe you want to learn a new subject, you are more than welcome to do that. Our professors, our faculty are here to help you through their transition. Sure, you might have to take a couple of leveling courses if you're changing careers or changing majors, but you can absolutely switch majors if you would like to do that.
That's absolutely correct, Sam. And I do see a couple more questions coming in here. We have a question from Mike. His fiance is a full-time teacher. Can she go back for her master's? And the answer to that is absolutely. Like Sam mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of educational accelerated online programs. And again, just to talk about accelerated online programs in education, we do have curriculum and instruction, we have educational technology, we have educational leadership, we have teacher leadership, and I'm super excited to announce we also have a higher education administration program coming up this spring that's starting in spring module 2. And again, these accelerated online programs can be done 100% online from the comfort of your home. So for teachers working full time during the day, these programs are set up so that you can actually do them at your own pace, in your own, when you get home from work, when you have that extra time to complete. And you typically, the way these are set up, the accelerated online programs, they're in 7-week modules. So unlike a traditional 16-week long semester, these classes are shortened to 7 weeks. You can take 1 or 2, up to 2 courses each 7 weeks. And that's how you can complete some programs like special education in 10 months, because you're taking those 2 courses. You don't necessarily have to take the 2 courses. You can take 1 course each module, but it's recommended that you follow the cohort. That way that you complete the program in a timely manner and you don't miss classes when they're offered. So yes, full-time teachers can go back and get your master's as well. We do have some traditional on-campus programs as well, and most of those courses also are in the evening, like Sam previously mentioned.
Awesome. Looks like we had another question in the chat box here, Stephanie.
All right. Yes, we do have a question. What is the average GMAT GRE for PhD in business administration? What is the acceptance rate for PhD in business administration? And actually, what we can do for you, Jojo, we'll enter that information into the chat box directly to our PhD program so that you can see that information in terms of the average GMAT or GRE score. I believe they do have something listed on there.
I believe it's a minimum of 500 on the GMAT, Stephanie.
Okay, yes. So there you go. It's a minimum of a 500 score for that particular program. It is a competitive program. And I also encourage you, Jojo, to meet with the graduate program coordinator because they can answer things like the acceptance rate for that particular program as well. And since I mentioned graduate program coordinator, I do want to take a few minutes to talk about what the graduate program coordinator is. So each of our graduate programs here at UTRGV has a graduate program coordinator, and this is a faculty member who's in charge of the particular program. For example, Ed Tech or PhD in business, they will review your application for admission and they help you be successful through the entire program. They will guide you in terms of the courses. They will be your resource as you are going through your entire program. So just wanted to add that as well. So another, common fear that or question that I typically get is, it's been years since I've been to school, several years, 10, 15 years. Is it possible for me to still go back and get my master's degree, Sam? What would you say?
Absolutely. And I highly encourage you to do that. I mean, if you're looking to kind of, like I said, build on your credentials, you want to continue to grow where you're at, I highly encourage you to get your master's. Sure, it might seem daunting at first if you've been out of school for a while, but it's very doable. We've had plenty of students do it after they've been out of school for 10, 15, 20 years. And it's very doable. I've heard it said it's kind of like riding a bike, right? It might take you a little bit to get adjusted, but you'll definitely get going once you kind of get the hang of it, you'll feel comfortable. And we have plenty of faculty available to help you through that process as well. If you need help, my recommendation is reach out to professors during office hours. At the end of the day, it's very doable. If it's what you want to do and you set your mind to it, you can certainly do it. The resources are there to help you. And like I said, of course, it can seem scary, it can seem daunting, but it's absolutely doable, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and a lot of people who come back after being out for several years, it takes them, the first couple of assignments, the first couple of research projects, and then they get into the flow of things again. So nothing to fear. It's usually just the beginning where you're trying to get back into your flow of studying and getting the work done. And I see there's also some more comments and questions coming in, Sam. I know Mike said that this is awesome. He'll pass this information on. Yes, this video will be recorded so you can show it to her later. And there was also a question by Marie about, are there scholarships and other financial aid available? And yes, and actually that is one of the common questions that we get from most prospective students is, and they actually think, they've heard that there is no funding for graduate school, but here at UTRGV, we support our graduate students throughout their education. And yes, so in terms of scholarships, you can visit utrgv.edu/grad scholarships. So it's grad scholarships. And you will find all the graduate scholarships available for you as a graduate student. Most importantly, I do want to point out that we have a $1,000 graduate select scholarship. This is a competitive merit scholarship that we have available. And so that is $1,000 that you could potentially apply for. You do have to apply online for this particular scholarship before you are, once you're admitted into the program, then you will apply for this particular scholarship. The other really cool incentive that we have going on right now is the $1,000 graduate bonus. So this grad bonus, the way it works, it's only available for this spring semester. So for those of you who are thinking of starting school this spring, you could potentially get up to $1,000. And the way that you do that is by enrolling in 6 credit hours. So enrolling in 2 classes for this particular spring. And as long as you enroll in those classes by the first class day, you could potentially be awarded up to $1,000. And so that is an extra bonus that we have going on in addition to the scholarship that I just mentioned, the Graduate Select Scholarship. There is also financial aid available you would fill out your FAFSA just like you did in undergraduate. Fill out your FAFSA so you can see if you can qualify for grants or for loans. And there is actually a specific graduate resource grant available to students. You have to apply early for that FAFSA though. You have to apply extremely early to get that graduate resource grant. You can get up to $2,000 with that grant. There is also the Teach Grant available to some educational programs that we have as well. And so I know Mike was talking about his fiance and her being a teacher. She can look into that Teach Grant as well to see if she can help get funding for that as well.
One of the things I wanted to talk about with regards to funding, Stephanie, is if you're attending full time and you're not currently working anywhere, we also have grad assistantships available. And these are super beneficial to help fund your program. Typically, graduate assistant positions will be available through the department that you're in or through really any other department. You don't have to do an assistantship through the department that your program is in. So say you're a business major, you're doing a program in business, but you see an assistantship available in engineering, you can certainly apply for it. These can certainly be a huge benefit and a huge help when it comes to funding your program because you're typically working about 20 hours a week, Stephanie, and the pay starts at approximately $5,000 per semester if you're working the entire semester. So that's another way to help fund your program.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, I forgot in financial aid, you can also get work study too. If you're not working full time, those are some great funding opportunities as well. If you're a veteran, there you can also take advantage of your veterans benefits. If you are working full time, I also encourage you to look at in your human resource department to see if there's any educational benefits available to you as an employee from that particular company as well. So those are some other funding opportunities that we have available here.
Going off of the question that we had, Stephanie, about what is the average GMAT, that I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the questions I get is the GRE required for my program? And really it's going to depend, right, in terms of which program you're applying for and also waivers. I wanted to talk about that. Like, how can a student qualify for a waiver if they are interested in a program that requires a GRE?
Absolutely. I know, for example, our MBA program, our business analytics program, sometimes there is waivers if your program does require the GRE or GMAT uh, exam. There are ways that you can be exempt from taking that particular exam as an entrance exam. Some of that being if you already have a master's degree, like you're going back, if you have a certain GPA, higher than a certain GPA. As well as there is one more. But if you actually look at utrgv.edu/grad programs, you find your program, you can see those waivers listed on there so that you can take advantage of that.
The MBA, one of the ones that I know about the waivers for MBA is if you've been in an upper level management position for 4 years or more, then you might qualify as well for a waiver. So important to think about that as well. But yeah, it will really vary based on programs. Some you can be your GRE can be waived if you have a 3.0 or higher, and some it'll be a 3.25. So really important to double check those admission requirements for your particular program because they will vary across programs.
That's correct. And we do have another question here. Do we need to contact with faculty for funding opportunities or do we apply centrally? So actually the funding opportunities like the scholarship, the select scholarship, that you will apply centrally through the Apply Scholarships website. For the grad bonus, you just simply need to enroll in your 6 courses. But in terms of contacting faculty, that would be with the assistantship opportunities. You will want to reach out to your faculty within the department that you're applying to of that particular program. So that way you can see if there are any assistantships within their specific department. You can also see centralized graduate assistantships across campus at careers.utrgv.edu as well. So you can look at that. But for funding opportunities, the faculty would be more familiar with the assistantships. And again, assistantships are 20-hour work weeks, whether you're doing research, teaching, or graduate assistantships at the graduate level.
Got another one that I get often, Stephanie, is I'm fresh out of my bachelor's. Should I consider applying to grad school or should I work for a while before applying?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of our own UTRGV seniors are thinking the same thing. Should I go directly into graduate school? Do I need some work experience? And the answer is really it depends on the program that you're planning to go into, the industry that you're planning to go into. Some industries require some work experience before you move up to that next promotion, or some programs actually do require some working experience. There's not too many, but there are some that require some working experience before you get into the master's program. But for the most part, most of our programs, you can go directly from undergrad into graduate school without any problem or without any work experience. So I invite any undergraduate seniors who are thinking about just going, maybe they're not exactly sure where they want to go in their career. You can continue with graduate school, and that's absolutely fine. There's no restrictions on when you should start graduate school. It's really just dependent upon you and if you're ready.
Yeah, a really good example for that one is like, for example, if you're interested in doing counseling, say you want to become a licensed professional counselor, at that point, you would need to do a certain number of hours, get that master's to be able to even apply for the certification. At that point, you can go straight into that master's without having to work, right? Another example of the ones that do require work experience is, say you're interested in something like educational leadership. I believe they require at least 2 years of teaching experience. So at that point, you're like, okay, let me go ahead and get my years of experience before I start applying into that program. So just a couple of examples of those, where it's like you would need to get some good experience beforehand, or you can go straight into the program.
Wonderful. Those are great examples, Sam. And we do have another question coming in from Umar. He's been admitted to the Masters of Public Affairs for Public Policy for this fall 2023. So first off, congratulations on being admitted. And he wants to know when he can start with registrations and when you can apply for assistantships for the program as well. So if it's for fall 2023, the registration won't open until this spring sometime. So that you'll be able to start registering in the spring, you will get an email notification to your UTRGV email account once registration is open. So not to worry, we will notify you when registration is open. In terms of assistantships as well, I would start looking in the spring and summer before you start in the fall for those assistantships. But reach out to your graduate program coordinator now, because if there is something available that you can apply to now and get the process started, it never hurts to start early.
For scholarships, they can start applying right away though, right? For that one, the app,
Yep.
it opens up, if I'm not mistaken, October, typically October of
Mhm.
the year prior that you're applying. So if you're interested in applying for scholarships, you can already start that application as well at utrgv.edu/apply scholarships.
That's absolutely correct. So please already apply for scholarships so that you can be ahead of the game when it comes to that.
Here's
Um,
a here's a really good one, Stephanie, that I think a lot of students have asked me about. This one is, my GPA is below, sorry about that. My GPA is below a 3.0, and I'm afraid I won't meet the admission requirements for my program. What can I do to strengthen my chances of being admitted into my program?
That's a great question. I know we do get a lot of students in that same boat. So our minimum GPA for most of our graduate programs here at UCRGV is a 3.0 GPA. And there are a couple of students who will come in who have under that 3.0, who are like, what can I do? How can I, get into a program? And there's a couple of avenues that you can take. I think one of those, you can always go back in undergraduate, take a couple courses to increase your GPA in that. So you could always go into undergrad and help to help build that GPA, or at least take some courses to prove that you are ready for graduate school. We also have plenty of graduate certificate programs that you may be able to start in as well. Graduate certificate programs are kind of like, they can be used as stepping stones into some of our master's programs. For example, our pre-MBA certificate program, you can take those courses and then it leads you into the MBA program. And so typical graduate certificates, they're graduate level courses. They're typically 12 hours, 15 credit hours programs that you can take. So that way you can prove to the program that you're ready to get into the master's program. I also recommend that you reach out to the graduate program coordinator, because they can also guide you to see, what your next course of action should be, or what courses you should take, retake in undergrad, so that you can increase your GPA, or at least prove to them that you are ready for graduate school.
Yeah, you mentioned, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you mentioned, is retaking some courses. A lot of students, when I tell them, they actually don't realize that they can go back and take some undergrad courses as a non-degree seeking student. Say you took a course when you were an undergrad and you just didn't do so hot, maybe you got a D or something like that. You can certainly retake that course as a non-degree seeking student, get a B, get an A, and that would bring up your GPA significantly. So that is definitely an option. And like she said, yeah, definitely talking to the program coordinator. A lot of students don't realize that when you're applying, yes, your GPA is taken into consideration, but it's a holistic review, right? If you have relevant work experience, that is beneficial. If you have some great letters of recommendation from faculty or professors, that is also beneficial. So all of these things come into play when our admissions committee is reviewing your application. So definitely take advantage of, if you need to retake some courses, sure, do that. If you need to get connected with the program coordinator, make sure you're doing that so that you can leave no stone unturned and find out, okay, how can I strengthen my application for my program?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, it's a holistic review. So if you don't have that GPA, if you're a little lower than that 3.0, make sure your recommenders are writing those strong letters of recommendation. Make sure your personal statement's on point. Make sure all the admission requirements that or sometimes you have the option of taking the GRE to kind of offset that GPA, because sometimes it's been years since you've been in school and you're a different person now. So I encourage you, don't get discouraged just because your GPA is not at a 3.0. And if you want to start off with just meeting with a recruiter first, meeting with Sam, with one of my recruitment team members, we can meet with you and kind of discuss your personal situation in regards to your GPA directly. You can actually schedule an appointment with us at utrgv.edu/meet recruiter. You can see our team there, our availability, and you can schedule an appointment with us so we can talk one-to-one as to what is your best course of action, based on what your GPA is like and your career pathway, where you're planning to go, which program you're applying into.
One quick point that I wanted to touch on is you mentioned the pre-MBA certificate. If you're interested in doing our master's in business administration and maybe your GPA is below a 3.0, that's a perfect way. It's a stepping stone to get into that MBA. If you finish the pre-MBA certificate and you pass it, at that point, you would no longer have to worry about taking that GRE or that GMAT. So that's another great way to kind of get into that program without having to worry about the test score, right? And every course that you take for the pre-MBA certificate counts towards the MBA. So that's a really helpful pathway into that master's in business administration if you have below a 3.0.
Yes, and we do have another question that just came in. Do you provide an application fee waiver in graduate school? And actually, good news, most of our programs, we have a $0 application fee. There is only a handful of our professional programs that still require an application fee, but we have removed that application fee from most of our programs. And so you more than likely will not have to pay a fee to apply. There's only a couple, like the physician assistant studies, occupational therapy still has a fee, but most of them do not. And you can visit our website to see which of those are.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to talk about too, Stephanie, is you can actually apply for more than one program too. If
Mhm.
you're interested, you're like, hey, there's two that I'm kind of torn between, not quite sure, apply for them both. It doesn't cost you anything to apply, so you can certainly apply for both, see which one works better for you. My recommendation is also take a look at the course requirements, right? Our website will show you all the courses that you would need to take within every particular program, and that might help to better inform your decision in terms of which one you want to lean towards. So at the end of the day, if you want to apply for more than one, go ahead.
Yeah. So another common fear, let me see here, that we had on our list is, I'm not sure I have what it takes to attend graduate school. I'm afraid I will fail a class. What can I do to succeed in my classes for graduate school?
This is a great one. Um, a lot of people a lot of people have come with me and they said, "Hey, like, I don't know, like, can I do it?" And I'm like, "Of course you can. Like, you can absolutely do it. If you get your bachelor's, you can absolutely do it." Now, of course, the dynamic is different. Grad school, you're going to do probably a lot more reading, and that's normal, right? You're going to be doing a lot more reading. So time management is of utmost importance. Learning to manage your time, learning to set aside a certain amount of time for each hour that you spend in class is really important. That's what's really going to help you. My recommendation is make sure you're in contact with your professors, that you're reaching out during their office hours. If something wasn't clear to you in class, reach out and say, hey, I need some additional assistance. And they're going to be happy to help, especially because you're putting in the effort and the time and saying, hey, I care about this, right? Like, this is something that I'm struggling with. Can I get some help? And then also, one of the things that I've realized when I started my master's program is there was always students reaching out and doing, group chats where it's like, hey, are you guys struggling? Cool, let's do a study session. Or, what kind of advice can you guys give me? Did you understand this? Let's talk about it. That's always super beneficial. And so if you don't have a group chat, start it. Don't be afraid to start it. I'm sure that if you have that same question, somebody else in your class is going to have that question as well. So all of these things can help you to succeed within the class, but you have to make that effort. You have to make that time. Stephanie, anything that
Yeah,
you
two,
had?
two things I wanted to add to that in terms of creating a group chat. We actually have a Facebook group page for our UTRGV graduate students, as well as our UTRGV accelerated online students. Once you're admitted into one of our graduate programs, we notify you about this group page so that you can join in. And I've seen on those group pages where students are just helping students. They're saying, hey, I'm taking this class, let's start a study group, let's get together. So I have seen, the community here at UTRGV really help each other out. The community of students, you grow that bond with the students and you network with the students. So that is also very helpful for you. to succeed in graduate school. The other resource that is available to you is the Writing Center. We do have a Writing Center available. So if you're struggling with, writing some of those research papers, there is the Writing Center available to help you with that as well. So there's just a couple more resources. There's so much support, but the important thing is communicating when you feel like you're struggling or, you're not understanding something. Talk to the graduate program coordinator first, see if you can, help, or reach out to the professor, that is, so that they can help you along.
I have a couple questions in the chat, Stephanie. The next one
Mhm.
that we hear is, are there ways that one of the admission requirements can be waived?
Um, I guess we would need to know a little bit more information, Maria, in terms of which program, but most of the time you do have to submit all the admission requirements that are listed on the admission requirement page for your particular program. The only waiver that we did talk about was the waiver for the GRE or the GMAT exam. For some of our programs, there are ways to do that, but you're really, you're proving in another manner, such as your GPA or your years of experience, that they can. But for the most part, in terms of admission requirements, you just simply have to apply and submit all those documents required of the particular program. And so, just to talk a little bit more about the application process as well, all of our graduate programs have different admission requirements. I want you to know that as well. So it's important that you do your research first. You go find the program that you're interested in, for example, computer science or information technology. You go in there, you look at that program. What are the admission requirements? In order to apply, everybody starts in the same place, utrgv.edu/grad apply. That is where our application process starts. You go in there, you create your account, you create your own username, your own password, you log in and you apply to one or two programs depending on what you're planning to do. And it's a fairly easy process. You're putting your biographical information, your educational history, all of that basic information will take you 10 minutes at the most. The admission requirement part is where you have to upload documents. For example, if you're required to submit a statement of purpose, there's going to be an easy upload function and you upload it directly to your application from there. Some programs require a resume. Some programs require some sort of creative work for the arts programs. So you will go in there, the application will indicate exactly what you need for that particular program. And then once you click submit, after that point, it goes to the graduate college and an admissions specialist will review your application, make sure everything's there. If there's something missing, they'll email you and you'll indicate they'll indicate what's missing on your application, and you can go ahead and add it back to your application, so that you can complete it as long as it's before the deadline that's stated. And from there, once your application is complete, it'll then be sent to the program to review your application holistically with their admissions committee. They'll make their recommendation, and then you get your answer to if you're admitted into the program. So that's kind of how the application process works. All of our programs have different admission requirements, so you need to go in there and get that done. But for the most part, the application process is easy. You upload everything online, and everything, even up into your decision, can be seen on your admissions portal, your self-service center. So you just go on there and you can see if your application's in progress. You can see if it's being reviewed by the program, and then ultimately you can see your decision. So it's a fairly easy application process. So do not fear the application process if that is your case as well. I didn't mention deadlines, but you should also know that most of our programs, for example, if you're planning to apply for this spring semester and starting right away, the deadline to apply for traditional programs, those are your 16-week programs, is January 5th. So you do need to apply before January 5th. If you're applying into our accelerated online programs, the deadline will be January 4th. And so most generally, those are the deadlines, but there are some very competitive programs that have earlier deadlines than that. So again, you need to visit our website so that you can see if your program has a deadline earlier than those that I just stated. But again, if you're planning to apply for this spring, you have some time, but I don't encourage you to wait. I encourage you to apply right away. Sam, do you have anything to add on the admissions process?
I think that's good. Looking at the deadlines and making sure you submit everything, especially like if you're an international student, because you have to apply well before that for the visa process. But no, I think that's good. You covered some really good stuff, making sure to keep track of those deadlines. I did want to talk about the traditional program. It's a priority deadline, so yeah, you can apply a little bit before that. But my recommendation is save yourself the headache, apply by the priority deadline, just to avoid any last minute issues, because what can go wrong will probably go wrong. So make sure you're submitting that application with all of your documents by that priority deadline and avoid that headache.
Thank you, Sam. So we do have another question from Ashley. I'm an undergraduate student right now in work study. Can I keep the same job or will it change for graduate school? So Ashley, if you fill out your FAFSA and you are awarded work study again in graduate school, which is completely possible, that's something that you do need to communicate with your supervisor. And when, if they're okay with you, you can definitely continue in with that work study position in your current position. However, it's just dependent if you get awarded work study again through the FAFSA application. And again, that's communicating with your supervisor on that. But great question, Ashley.
It looks like we had another question from Rene. Do you have to write another personal statement if you're switching programs?
I definitely would recommend a different personal statement, especially if you're switching programs. You could probably use the same basis in terms of, you and where your career goals are. But it really just depends on which program you're switching to. I recommend that you write your personal statement. And in talking about personal statements in general, I recommend that you're writing, why you would be a great candidate for that particular program, and what your career goals are and how this program aligns with those career goals. That's my advice for anybody who's writing a personal statement is, put your best foot forward. This is your chance to really show the faculty who's never seen you or spoken to you, more than likely, as to why you would be a great candidate for their program, especially if it's a competitive program. This personal statement, you need to make sure it's checked. Spelling, grammar issues, anything. Make sure it's your best foot forward. So if you're switching programs, again, I recommend that you write your personal statement for that particular program.
Yeah, so good. And you may not have to rewrite everything, right? Like your career goals might be the same, might be similar, but we definitely recommend make the adjustments to where it's catered to that specific program. And absolutely, yeah.
Correct. Let's see here. We have some more questions coming in. I graduated last year. When submitting the application materials for graduate school 3 years from now, do I use a personal email or will it be a UTRGV email be reactivated for the application process? That's actually a really great question, Marie. When you're applying, you can actually use your personal email to create your account, whatever you prefer, whether it's your UTRGV email or your personal email. It's an application process, so you can use whatever you're going to be checking and have access to because we communicate a lot through email. Here we go. We have another question by Ashley. I went to Grad Bash and they told me the criminal justice grad program online takes about 1 year. Is it same for in person? Ashley, that is a wonderful question. We do have an accelerated online criminal justice program, and that is the one that takes about a year. And for in person, it would take you your 2 years. And the reason is because in the accelerated online programs, you can take 2 classes every 7 weeks, which puts you at that 1 year mark. If you're going on campus or in a traditional format, you can take up to 3 classes each semester, but you're taking them longer. They're in the 16-week semester, so it'll usually take you your 2 years. And that brings up a good point. Most master's programs are 36 credit hours here at the university. And so if you're coming in a traditional format, more than likely, if you're going full time, which is 9 credit hours per semester, you can complete in about in about 2 years. And if you're taking an accelerated online program, that's 36 credit hours, you can finish in your year. So I just wanted to point that out in terms of the differences between a traditional and an accelerated online program.
So we had another question here, Stephanie. If you've taken traditional graduate classes, can they be used toward an online program?
If you've taken traditional.
So like if you've done classes at an on-campus
Oh,
face-to-face.
yes. Okay, so yes, if you've taken traditional graduate classes, um, if you're going into the same program, for example, if you were in the traditional MBA program and now you're doing the traditional accelerated online program, those classes, yes, can be used towards that degree. However, if they're two different, there's two things to this question. You can only make a switch from a traditional to an accelerated online program one time. So if you're in a program that does offer both modalities, you can only switch once. But if it's the same program, yes, you can use those courses for that. So if you're not changing the program, you don't have to worry about the courses. If you're changing the program, for example, if you're going from MBA to criminal justice, you have to talk with the graduate program coordinator to see if any of those classes could apply to the degree plan. But of course, you have to follow the degree plan, and whatever's on there for that particular program are the courses that you would need to take. So Dana, just sorry that was a little vague, but I'm not exactly sure what program, but I did want to point that out.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's not like undergrad where, a lot of your general ed core courses might, work if you switch majors. Whereas in the master's, it's very uncommon that that would happen. Because typically, we're looking at specific subjects now, right? So if you're switching from program to program, then definitely talk to the program coordinator. But if it's within the same one, that should not be an issue. My recommendation, as Stephanie was saying, definitely reach out to the program coordinator and let them know your situation to see if any of the courses that you have taken will apply to the new degree.
Yes. Yeah, and Marie just asked a question. I'm not a current student, but is the Writing Center available to help with writing a personal statement for graduate school admissions? And yes, actually, they are available to help with those personal statements for graduate school. So any of you, or even undergrad seniors who are still, thinking about, anybody thinking about the Writing Center can help with that personal statement as well.
Love it. I have another question here, Stephanie. This is one that I mean, a lot of people can probably relate with is I feel really nervous about attending grad school. Is this normal?
Yeah, actually, that's 100% normal. Every time we get a new class of students and we get to interact with students, it's funny, but they're, a little nervous about starting the program. And I think that's completely natural for most students. So you're not different. Your most students are nervous about starting graduate school. It's completely common, especially if you've been out of school for a long period of time, or even if you're coming from your bachelor's degree. I think it's just something completely different. It is a little bit more intensive, more research intensive when you're going into graduate school, but never to fear. I think as we talked a little bit earlier, Sam, about how you build that cohort and how you network with the people in your class, that is really helpful as you go into your graduate program. I find that a lot of students help each other out here at the university. They get together, they form those study groups, and that kind of helps that nervousness. The great thing about graduate school is that you're going to be networking, or you're in your classroom, you're going to be with other professionals, maybe sometimes from different industries, different areas, and you can collaborate and really, put that theory into practice in your real world experiences. I think that's what's really great about graduate school. And, do not fear if you're nervous. Everybody's nervous, and you'll get through it together with all the resources and the help here at UTRGV. I feel like we're family. Once you become a student here at the university, we help you through the entire process from beginning all the way through graduation. There are resources, there's help. The graduate college is always available. If you don't know where to go for that particular question, start at the graduate college and we will help you, get through the entire process.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to point out too is if you're doing a program in a subject that you really like, that's going to make it way easier for you, right? Obviously, if you don't like the content and it's, not fun for you, it's going to be more challenging. But if you really like it, and a lot of the students that come in to do their masters, they're not there because their parents told them to, right? They're there because they want to do it. They want to develop professionally. They want to grow. It's an investment in yourself. At that point, you're doing it because this is what you want to do, right? And so I think that makes all the difference. If you're there because you're like, like I'm not really sure if this is a program I want to do, but I'm just going to do it anyway. That will make a huge difference. If you like what you're studying, that's going to make it that much easier for you.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sam. And I think if you have that motivation, it really also helps you get through graduate school. I know I've heard a lot of people who their motivation of talking to current students is their kids, their children. They want to prove to their children that it can be done. Graduate school can be done at any age, at any time, because that's also a thing. Like we talked about earlier. I've been out of school for 20 years. I have a family of 3, and can I really do this? Sometimes that is your motivation and that helps you get through graduate school as well. So if you have a motivation, I think that really helps going into graduate school as well. So we have another question by Ashley. I want to start graduate school, and it's okay, Ashley, keep asking questions. That's what we're here for. I want to start graduate school next fall. Can I apply already or wait until I finish my undergrad in the spring? And actually, you can, if you're graduating this spring, you can already start your application for fall 2023. Applications are usually open a year prior. So even if you're graduating this spring, you can already start your graduate school application. We will look at your transcript. We will see that your upcoming graduation is in spring, and we'll verify that you graduated in the spring with your transcripts. But yes, start the application process now. It can be started.
I wanted to talk about for UTRGV students, if you guys are currently doing your bachelor's here with UTRGV and you're applying for a graduate program, you're going to notice there's an option in the application that will say submit your transcripts. You actually don't have to submit your transcripts if you are a UTRGV alum. We're going to pull those transcripts directly from the registrar's office, so you don't even have to worry about submitting a request yourself. If you want for your personal records, totally fine, go ahead and submit a request, but you don't have to submit any transcripts if you're graduating from UTRGV.
Yeah. And I know we're already kind of coming up to the hour here on our Facebook Live session, but I did want to remind everybody watching right now that we do have those incentives like the grad bonus, the 1,000 grad bonus. I know we talked about it early in our Facebook Live, but I do want to mention now for anybody who joined late, we do currently have a 1,000 grad bonus only available for this spring 2023 semester. And so this bonus, all you have to do is register for 6 credit hours. Whether you're starting a master's, a doctoral program, or a certificate program, you will get awarded your up to $1,000 for enrolling in 6 credit hours. So get admitted into your program, apply now, apply early, so you can register for classes. Registration for spring already opens up for graduate students October 28th. So as soon as you're ready, as soon as you're admitted to register, please do so. There's no application for the grad bonus. It all is in enrolling for your courses. And then we also have the $1,000 Graduate Select Scholarship. That scholarship is a merit scholarship. It's competitive. You do have to apply, and you apply after you're admitted into your graduate program. So again, my tip and message for you is if you want to start graduate school this spring, that you apply early and get admitted early so that you can make sure that you take advantage of all these incentives. We don't want you to miss out on this one-time $1,000 grad bonus, as well as the scholarship and all, any other funding that we have available. In terms of deadlines, you do need to apply before January 4th for accelerated online programs, January 5th for traditional. But again, there are some programs that have an earlier deadline. So visit our website for those particular programs that have an earlier deadline. And then again, as we're wrapping up, I do want to again remind you that you can schedule an appointment with anybody on the recruitment team at utrgv.edu/meet recruiter. That is where you can schedule a one-to-one appointment if you really want to talk about your personal situation, really understand, does this graduate program align with my career goals? Or maybe you have absolutely no idea what graduate program is best for you. That is totally okay. That is very common fear is I don't know what program, and it's okay. We're here to help you sort through that. So I encourage you to set up an appointment with one of our team members so that we can walk you through that process. We can talk about the admission requirements, the funding opportunities, the process itself, as well as which program that it might be best suited for you. Anything else you'd like to add, Sam?
I think we're good. We've covered a lot of really good content today. I think we're good.
All right. Well, again, thank you all so much for joining our Facebook Live session. We're here to help, and we hope that you heard a little bit about the common fears and know that you're not alone in this. There is a big team to allow you to help you get into graduate school, and we hope that you do choose UTRGV for that. And we're here to help. So, again, have a wonderful day, and hopefully, we'll see you in grad school soon. Thank you.
Y'all take care. Have a good one.